Origin Unexplained.
This episode isn't about ghosts. It's not about hauntings. It's about extremely bizarre experiences I've personally encountered and things that have happened to me in real life that I still cannot explain. These weren't dreams. These weren't stories I heard. They weren't passed down from someone else. These were moments I lived. I was awake and I was aware, and something strange broke through. I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm just laying it out like it happened. So, if you're expecting a haunted house story, that's not what this podcast is this time. This is something different, something harder to categorize, and something real. And I have a feeling you guys may have experienced some yourselves. This first story happened sometime around 2005, maybe 2006. I remember it clearly, not because anything dramatic happened, but because of the way it felt. I had just woken up one morning, same as any other day. I got up and I went to the bathroom, then came downstairs like usual, and before I did anything else, not breakfast, not TV, not coffee, I went and turned on the computer. That was my routine. When the screen came to life, I saw the wallpaper I had set for a while. It just said 1111. That's all. Just those four numbers across the screen. And the second I saw it, something hit me. Didn't last long, just a brief flash. But I felt something shift, like a glitch, a crack in the moment. For 1 second, I felt completely outside of everything. Not dizzy, not confused, but aware, extremely aware. It was like I suddenly knew something big. Like for that moment, I understood everything. The universe, time, why we're here, all of it. It wasn't even like I heard the words or saw images. It was just a knowing. In today's terms, a download. And just as fast as it came, it was gone. I stood there, stunned for a second, not scared, just in awe, because even though I couldn't hold on to what I felt, I remembered that feeling. That's what stuck. That's what made it real. So I snapped back with it, trying to hold on, and I thought maybe if I saw 1111 again, it would happen, and I wanted it back. I wanted to feel it again, so I started putting ones on pieces of paper, and I taped one in the bathroom, right where I could see it, first thing when I woke up. I did everything I could to recreate the moment, to call it back somehow, but it's never happened again. Any rate, would you call it a glitch? Absolutely, but I actually do not have an answer for what that was. This next story happened about 20 years ago, and I still think about it. I was in my living room, sitting in my recliner chair, eating steak and watching TV. It was just a normal day, nothing unusual. Then a commercial came on. I couldn't tell you what it was for. I didn't hear any words, just the sound of it. Something about the tone or the rhythm, the sounds of nature, different things like that. The second I heard it, it's like the whole entire room disappeared. I wasn't in my recliner anymore. I wasn't even inside. I was outside walking on a grassy path with trees on both sides of me. The sound of the commercial kept going, but it didn't sound like a commercial anymore. It blended with the wind and the space around me, like it belonged there. I felt like I was barefoot. I didn't see anyone, and I was clearly alone, but I wasn't afraid. It was calm, quiet, and beautiful. That's what I remember most. The atmosphere felt surreal, like a place that existed just outside of time. Then, when the commercial ended, it was over. I was back in my living room, sitting in the recliner, with my plate of steak in front of me and the TV just as it had been. I don't know how long the commercial lasted, but however long it was, well, that's how long I was gone. I don't know what it was, but I know it wasn't a dream or imagination. I was awake, fully aware, and somewhere else. At least until that commercial ended. And it's never happened again. This next story, well, this one isn't my personal story, but maybe it's connected somehow. You tell me, because I don't know. What I do know is that it happened to my daughter Dakota, and it's stuck with her ever since. She was coming out of school one day, heading toward the bus, and everything around her changed. Just like that. One second she was walking across the pavement like normal, and the next she was in a forest. A bright green forest. She said it was beautiful, peaceful, and there was a small creek running nearby. And she was completely alone. No people, no buildings, just her and that scene. She wasn't scared. In fact, she felt calm. Like it was just meant to be, if even for just a moment. And then just like with me, it was over. The school bus, the real world, all of it came back into view. Didn't last long, but it changed something in her. To this day, she's obsessed with that scenery. The memory of it has never left her. She's drawn to that kind of place, lush woods, running water, the kind of quiet you can feel. And the strange part is, it almost matches my dream. I've had over and over through the years, the one with weeping willow trees, the creek, and massive fish in the water below me. Different details, but the same feeling, like we both brushed against the same place from different angles. So I go into this dream, and I've had it for years. It happens every couple of years or so, and it always starts the same. I'm walking down a hill, and right in front of me, right off to the left, is a wide area with flat rocks set into the ground. It's like there's grass growing up around them. It almost feels like a park. There are people around walking, maybe gathering, but they don't talk to me, and I don't speak to them. I just move through it like I know where I'm going. I cross over a little bridge, nothing big, just enough to mark the transition. And then I come to an underpass, and that's where it shifts. There are large boulders everywhere, and under that overpass, there's groups of people partying. They don't acknowledge me, and I don't stop for them. I step over the boulders and move through it without saying a word. On the other side, everything opens up. It's lush, green, in a way that doesn't feel normal. The colors are too alive, too intense. It's quiet and peaceful, and then I see it, a creek. That's where I go, and that's where I fish. And in that creek are these fish, easily the length of my leg, and I mean huge in length. Quiet, moving through the water like they've been there longer than anything else. Something about them feels kind of prehistoric. I can't explain it. They're just not normal. Not like the normal fish that you would see today. I think there's even been a time in the dream when I caught one, but I was too scared to pull it out of the water. Like it was too big, too old, too something. I always wake up before anything else happens. It's always the same, down the hill, across the bridge, through the boulders to that creek, and the fish are always there. And the part that really gets me is this. Dakota's pulled up pictures online of that pond in the woods, that moment that she saw. These strange glowing green scenes, and the second I saw them, I froze because they looked exactly like the place where I go in that dream. Same colors, same trees, and the same impossible green. I don't know how she found it or why she was drawn to it, but it's the same place I've been fishing in those dreams for years. A place I've never seen in real life, and a place that might not even exist. And yet somehow, we both know it. The next story took place back around 2003. I'd had a disagreement with Dakota's father. I don't even remember what it was about. But it was one of those tensions that hangs in the air, heavy, sharp, unresolved. Eventually, we ended up in the kitchen at the same time. We looked up at each other, and then something shifted. We both started laughing, like the weight of it cracked and gave way. I walked over to him and hugged him, relieved that it was over, glad the tension had finally broken. And in that moment, I felt this overwhelming surge of love. Not the kind you think about, not even romantic. It was more like it was a pure love. It was full. It was huge. So I told myself, well, send him that love right now. And when I did, I walked out of my body and literally went into his. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't symbolic. It was real. Yeah, it was like I left my body and moved into his, like I was showing him what I felt from the inside out. And the love that poured through me was so intense, so massive that it hit him. I know it did, because he pulled back just a little and looked at me, and then he put his hands on my shoulders and gently pushed me back, and he said, "What was that?" After that, he was like, "Wow, do that again. Do that again." He kept trying to hug on me, and he wouldn't leave me alone. That drove me a bit crazy, but he wanted to feel it again. But I have never been able to do that again. Here's a real quick one. This one goes back to 89. I got a glass out. It was a new one. I had it in my hand. I looked at it, and it made a pop, and it blew up, shattered in a million pieces. Talk about weird. This next one's real creepy. I was with this guy I was dating. Eventually, we ended up getting married. But before we were married, he was playing around one day listening to Metallica. And I made a comment afterwards, something like, "I've got more power than that," because he was talking about heavy metal having power. So I was just being silly and said, "I've got more power than that, and I can control whatever." I don't even remember the exact words, but I was joking around, pointed at the sky and said something about the weather, like, "I had the power." And the second I twisted my finger and pointed upward, it thundered immediately. Somebody on the other side was making a joke, right? One loud crack and rumble, and then it never rained and never lightninged and never thundered again. Just that one single thunderclap right after I pointed. Needless to say, I didn't do that again. Next story. Just a quick short one. I'm sure you've all gone through this. I can remember this happening quite a few times, actually, throughout my life. One of them was when a friend came to visit me at the house. He walked in and said he had just stopped by a pawn shop. Before he could even finish, I looked at him and said, "Did you get Billy Joel's Greatest Hits?" He froze and looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I was beginning to feel like I did. He goes, "How the did you know that?" He hadn't told me anything yet. I just somehow knew. He had gone in there, saw it, and grabbed it, and before he even had a chance to say anything, well, I said it. Now, I know that when you know someone very well, you can usually finish their sentences or have a feel for what they're going to say. That is normal, but this wasn't that. This wasn't a conversation we'd ever had. It wasn't a running joke or something I could have even guessed. It was completely random and out of nowhere. And it wasn't the only time. I've had this happen before. It's like the information just pops into my head and no one's expecting me to know. And, well, I say it and it's right. Now, I know somebody's had that happen. Absolutely. That's like common every day. This next one's pretty scary. There was this time that I had had a dream and I was walking through a school. I was at the top of the stairs and I was holding my son, who was just 2 months old at the time. In the dream, something happened. Somehow I lost my grip and he slipped out of my arms and I watched him roll down the stairs. I woke up shaken, but it was just a dream. At least that's what I thought. A few days later, I was outside walking on the ice carrying him in my arms. I slipped hard and I fell straight forward and instinct kicked in. I threw my arms forward in front of me so I wouldn't fall on him. But when I hit the ground, the way I landed caused his little body to bump forward into the stairs right in front of me. It wasn't the exact same scenario, but it was close enough to stop me in my tracks. I had seen something bizarre coming days before, but I didn't know it. That dream had shown me something not in full detail, but enough to make me remember he ended up with a hairline fracture, and that was through a hat and a snowsuit and a blanket on the outside of him. Obviously, I had no control when I was falling, so when I did get to the hospital, they looked at me like, "Are you kidding me?" Of course, they have to call in CPS to check things out and stuff. Luckily, when I hit the ice, I hit it hard because I was worried more about him than myself. And I had 2 holes in my jeans, and my knees were all scratched to crap. Not to mention the fact that I landed on one hand and my elbows. So, next story. There was something I had always had with my kids when they were little, and It's this sense. And I think just about every mother has it. If I was working and something was wrong, I could feel it. Not guess it, feel it. I'd call the babysitter, and out of nowhere, I could hear them crying in the background. Something had happened. They'd hurt themselves, or I somehow knew before anyone told me. I don't know what it is. Motherly instinct? I assume so. Now I am going to tell you the strangest story. Now, this story didn't start with me. It started with something with Dakota's paternal grandmother and something that she told me. She said that if a certain woman at her job had ever seen Dakota, she would say that Dakota was a star child. That always stuck with me to this day. And she is different. Way different. I didn't even know what a star child was back then. But I looked it up. And when I started reading about it, I came across an image of the Pleiades. That's what stopped me. I stared at the picture. And I had tears running down my face. I could not explain why. It was like something in me knew it. Not just recognized it, knew it. And that hit deep. And later on, I was talking out loud as I read more about it that evening. And I said, well, if I'm somehow connected, you need to show me. And it showed me. Yeah, it showed me. I ended up ordering a book. I don't know why I chose it. I was just going through different books on it because I wanted to read more about it. And I was really questionable as to why I made this humming sound. So when I saw those Pleiades star system images of all the stars, I was going, no, if that doesn't sound like somebody that's absolutely lost their mind, I don't know what does. Long story short, ended up ordering this book. I had it for a couple weeks at the house, and then we went up to the water park one day, and the book was sitting on my stand next to the door, so I grabbed it and stuck it in my purse. This new book, it's called Star People. We get up there, and the kids are playing in the water park, and then there's a thunderstorm, and of course, like anything else, they shut it down temporarily until it passes. So we went out to the Jeep, and we got in there, and the kids were talking, and I sat there, I opened my purse, and there was that book, so I grabbed it out. For some reason, I felt like, well, I'm going to open this up to the right page. And I did. As I was reading it, this boy was at home, and it told the story of his father beat him close to death, threw him out of the house for the night, and told him to stay outside. He was young. As he laid there, he cried to God, and he begged him to let him die so he wouldn't have to go through this stuff anymore. That moment, he said, there was a bright light, and there were these beings all around him in a circle, and they all started to hum. Scary part, they looked alien. Take it from there, guys, because I don't know what to say about that. That was absolutely creepy. Do I believe I'm an alien? No. Some would say starseed. Who knows? All I know is I was born on the earth with a birth certificate. Next story. When I went in for an MRI of my brain and my neck, they found something I still can't explain. It was beneath my throat, far below the thyroid, and there was this perfect triangle with a perfect circle inside of it. It wasn't tiny or vague, it was solid, clean, and shaped with exact precision. The image showed it sitting in my chest, right under my skin, but not in the skin. It was deeper, like it was part of the tissue underneath. I don't know the exact measurement, but it looked like at least an inch or more in size. It was so unnaturally perfect that, well, honestly, kind of maybe creeped me out a little bit when I saw it, because there is no medical reason for a geometric symbol like that to be inside a human body. I saw it with my own eyes because the MRI place gave me a disc at the time. I brought it home and opened the images on my computer, and there it was, clear as day. Perfect triangle with a perfect circle in the center, sitting in my chest. Looked exactly like the Harry Potter symbol, minus the wizard line down it. When Dakota was little, still too young to talk, she had this thing where she'd point up at one of my cabinets and make a sound like she was asking for something. One day she kept pointing at the cabinet where I kept some of my rocks and crystals. I opened it, and without hesitation, she locked her eyes on a large, round, smooth piece of rose quartz. I handed it to her, curious what she was going to do. She took the stone, calmly walked around behind me, and placed it directly on my gallbladder, exactly where I had been having intense pain. And she came around to the front and gently pressed it against the same area from the front. She had never seen me do anything like that. I'd never taken a rock out and put it on my body. Not once. And yet, she just knew. It wasn't just strange. It felt like a deep instinctive knowing, I guess. Something beyond her age and experience was guiding her, there's no doubt. And I will never forget it. Okay, this story, Roger and I were traveling down the road, and for some reason I asked him how much gas was in the car. He said, oh, there's enough in there. So we headed on down into Little Falls and picked up some pizza and came back. At the exact same spot where I had asked about the gas on the way down, the car ran out of it. Oddly enough, it was one of our friends' properties where it happened, and they helped us get gas. I don't know how I knew to ask. I don't even know where it came from. It's like something in me picked up on it, but I've always believed we're guided by something higher, when we're paying attention, that is. So in this past year, this next story has happened. Dakota had asked me if I'd ever experienced something strange with the clock. Like time didn't seem to move. She told me she looked at the time, walked away, and when she checked again an hour later, it was still exactly the same. Within a few days, Rod reached out and described the exact same thing, which I'm sure he's probably going to comment about down in the comment section. Then about a week later, it happened to me. After that, Gail brought it up as well. This wasn't all in the same place. These moments were happening across 3 different states, New York, New Hampshire, and Kansas. It was like time had paused for each of us, as if something or someone was playing with it. None of us had clocks with batteries running dead or anything like that. It was just frozen. So those are just a few stories, but throughout life, we all experience little synchronicities or precognitive flashes. Maybe you suddenly know what someone else is thinking, even if it's not someone you're close to. So there's no reason for it to be familiar. Maybe you keep seeing repeating numbers like 111, 222, 333, or 1212, 1111, and so on. Or maybe a movie you haven't thought about in years pops up into your head and then it's on TV later that day. Maybe you have a dream and then it actually happens. Or you're having a conversation with someone and then suddenly that same topic shows up on TV. And later on that day, you stumble across a post about it on social media. It becomes a sequence, a thread that repeats throughout the day or 24-hour period. Sometimes it feels like the other side gives you a warning ahead of time or helps you out in ways that we can't even explain. Maybe you're guided to take a different road only to find out later there was a serious accident on the route you normally travel, and it happened right around the time you would have been there. Who knows? Could it be our soul? Could it be our spirit guides, our angels? I think the main thing we're being told is that every so often we need to stop, take a look, and simply acknowledge and listen.
Time for the bloopers.
I even taped one in the bathroom right where I could. My goodness, I can't talk this morning. Go back to I taped one in the bathroom. 3, 2, 1. I remember it clearly because not anything in it was dramatic and just so happened, but whoosh, go back to this first. 3. So I started putting ones on pieces of paper and taping them around the house. Whoosh. Go back to and taping. No, I did not. No, I did not see it the first time when I woke the fuck up. Yes, I can swear. 3, 2, 1. And accepting. And blah, 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 blah. Go back to it was pure. 3, 2. It wasn't. Blah, blah, blah. Go back to it wasn't. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't symbolic. It was real. So I was with this guy that I was dating. that I was dating. Go back to I was. 3. This is Origin Unexplained, and I am Sue, your host. Thanks for listening. If you have a story you would like told, or you'd like to be on a podcast telling your story, email us at originunexplained@gmail.com.
Origin Unexplained.